Now coming to the next slide, which we look into Agile Framework, how it works. I explained you earlier on a feedback loop module. Then next slide. So Agile Framework is relevant because of the explosion of real-time data. Agile Framework is very important because of the importance of real-time data monitoring system which it provides in every point of view. Suppose government has provided certain kind of 20 lakh crore for the village development or certain districts which are in tribal in nature. So tribal districts means certain funds has been allocated and government wants to track the development. So the mechanism of how far the fund has reached to certain level can be tracked under the Agile Framework. So real-time data monitoring. And there is information of GST collection, how the GST is being collected in terms of state and center and union territories GSTs. So how the goods and services are being collected under the various parts of the states and various districts are real-time evaluated by using the Agile Framework, and how the digital payments are being made, how things are getting done, such as Swachh Bharat Yojana, something toilet are being made, so that are under the Agile Framework by satellite photographs. Now electricity production is also tracked under this. Cargo movements are also tracked under railways by use of GPS, global positioning system, and internal and external trade is also being tracked under the Agile Framework, as well as the development of infrastructure. Certain projects provided by the government of India are being developed, they are tracked, and delivery of various schemes and mobility indicators. These are being tracked under the Agile Framework, very important. So Agile Framework again makes a very necessary part of government mechanism under this fiscal year. That is why it becomes very important. So state of the economy, how the economy seems to be developing in 2022-2023. इकोनॉमी 2022 और 23 में बढ़ती हुई दिख रही है बाय वाइड स्प्रेड वैक्सीन कवरेज. The vaccines which are provided by the government of India under COVID lockdown period has reached to the village level, even in the distant localities of northeastern areas, the tribal areas, forest areas, as well as the distant location of Andaman Nicobar, Lakshadweep, and the sections are having highly vaccinated and health secured. So this is the factor to show the growth potential of 2022-2023. यानी कि 2022 और 2023 में जो ग्रोथ होगा वो वैक्सीनेशन कवरेज के द्वारा हेल्दी पॉपुलेशन को लेके फॉरकास्ट किया गया है. Then supply side reforms, the reforms that are made in supply side, MSMEs and various food chains and other retail sectors. So supply side reforms made by the government of India and the government machinery are being able to provide the indication that we are going to develop in a year 2022-2023. Regulations are being liberalized by the government framework, which are liberalization of regulations. No retrospective tax, which was highly debatable. And robust export growth. How we can develop the economy by making the export grow above its potential. Certain items are being manufactured, it needs the global market in a period of globalization, so robust growth and export sectors should be very much beneficial in order to cater the demand of global economy and in order to make the global system in coherence with the Indian economy. Now coming to the next slide, The government is processing towards the V-shaped recovery. So V-shaped recovery के बारे में हमने देखा कैसे ग्राफ शो कर रहा है the trend of Indian economy being in such a module that it was declining and it makes a sudden comeback in a year 2020 to 2021. So index of industrial production and 8 core indexes. What are the 8 core sectors? Coal, crude oil, petroleum, natural gas, fertilizers, steel, cement and refinery products. These are 8 core sectors. So their indexes further inches pre-COVID levels. 8 core sectors rise. Very important for UPSC prelims. Also asked in previous year question. Recovery due to Atmanirbhar Bharat package. There is huge impetus by Government of India under Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, which makes the government to look into the far decentralized way in order to cater the demands of MSMEs, shipping sectors and other core industries as well as various sectors which were lagging. So that makes a stimulus package amounting to 15% of India's GDP. India's GDP has 15% contribution by the Atmanirbhar Bharat package. Now India's rank in ease of doing business has been improving since 2019. It was 63rd position and earlier it was 77th position. So हमने 77th पोजीशन से 63rd पोजीशन तक ट्रैवल किया है. Now there is a debate that ease of doing business index has been terminated by the World Bank, which makes another news. So ease of doing business produced by World Bank, taking care of all the 11 sectors of development. That is taking permission, making business, getting electricity, cheaper loans availability and government regulations, easing norms as well as so on and so forth. So 11 sectors. Now the next thing is PLI, Program Priority Link Incentive Scheme, with overall expenditure of 1.46 lakhs crore. PLI schemes which makes the manufacturing system boosting under the COVID situation. So COVID situation, the manufacturing sector was lagging, but due to the impetus of 1.46 lakh crore, the manufacturing again boomed. So that is how we are looking into the economy survey and development of Indian economy. Now the next advanced estimates that makes the news is real GDP growth of 9.2%. 9.2% of real GDP growth in 2021-2022. There was contraction in the GDP growth, but 9.2 forecasted by IMF, which was seen also in the Government of India. So economic activity rises from pre-pandemic level to the subtle rise of various economy activities in post-COVID level. Rather, when we see in the second wave there was a fall of the economy, still it recovers, making a V-shaped recovery through better health impact and rising towards the full potential. So agriculture and allied sector which make really a big push to the growth of economy. Agriculture यानी कि भारत के कृषि क्षेत्र and the sectors which are allied with the agriculture sectors यानी कि rural agriculture, poultry, farming, mulching, bovine breeding as well as farming, and thus these sectors make a clear indication of growth of Indian economy, which makes a constant pressure of 3.9%. And earlier it were 3.6%. So despite of pandemic and lockdown, we see the growth in the agriculture sector. So agriculture sector is very, very important for UPSC as well as Government of India. Remember it. It was the only sector which makes constant growth despite pandemic, lockdown and falling of various sectors of economy. Now coming to the next. So GVA of industries including mining and construction, that is gross value added, raised by 11.8%. How far gross value added? That is total gross value of the economy raised from 11.8% and which was contracted by 7% in 2022, and the share of industries was 28.2% in terms of overall industrial contribution. So service sector hardest hit, that was 8.2% growth in 2022, declined to 0.2%. Earlier it was 8.4% और यह कम होके 8.2% तक चला गया. Total consumption growth was 7% that were seen in the 2021 due to government spending, and the gross fixed capital formation exceeded pre-pandemic level. GCFC, that is gross GFCF, gross fixed capital formation, which is a data of analyzing the investments made in an economy, is called as GFCF, investment made in economy. That was shown to be declining because of the COVID pandemic and declining in the investments. So investment were seen to be declining, and enhanced public expenditure in infrastructure. So government was more focused in development of the infrastructure as well as the public expenditure. That is why we saw a decline in the investment coming from abroad, despite of various facilities provided to the corporate sectors, reducing the tax, reduction of retrospective tax, so on and so forth. Now coming to the next slide. Exports of both goods and services exceptionally well strong. So there was good export in the sectors, although we were afraid of declining, but still it rises. So export were rising, which we see in the data also, and GDP growth of 8 to 8.5% in 2021-2022. Now this is very good news from the economy survey that GDP made a growth of 8.5%. That is a real GDP. Now the demand and supply expectations were very, very strong because of the Indian population, which constantly indulge itself into purchasing. That means India has higher purchasing power parity than other countries of the world. That is proved through the strong GDP and 8.4% of the data. And it also makes a constant situation of purchase consumption because of the good vaccination, healthy population, and engagement in a good economic activity. So this is a good news. Some concerns. So what are the concerns which make the impact on the development of economy? New wave variants, example Omicron, which really threatens the government from December to January month, which we see at the end of fiscal year and January. Omicron wave emerged, that there is again a problem. So central banks mop up liquidity, prompting central bank to mop up liquidity. Now government banks were also threatened by again rise of this new wave called as Omicron, which emerged from South Africa and travels to India somehow, but it do not impact the Indian economy so how and so forth, and it keeps the growth of Indian economy in a balanced way, which we saw. And India's CPI inflation stood 5.4% band, which is again a very good news for the government as well as people of India. CPI in all the terms: industrial level, agriculture levels, industrial workers, so on and so forth, was 5.6%. Again, it shows a rise. CPI को 5.5 to 5.6 maximum रहना चाहिए. That is how we see that CPI rise to 5.6% in December 2021, which is the in the tolerance band, but it reached the peaks. But government is saying that it is under the targeted tolerance band. Tolerance band के अंतर्गत ये 5.6 तक है, although it is very very high. Now, the wholesale price index, which was 12.4% in November and rise to 14.2% in December 2021, which was the highest of the 12 years data of WPI. यानी कि होलसेल प्राइस इंडेक्स दोस्तों बहुत ही ज़्यादा लेवल तक बढ़ गया है, which makes the gross selling of the food, commodities and other products very costly, and WPI rises because of the external factors due to rise of crude oil, petroleum, and as well as rising of food and vegetables in the economy, which propped up the rise of WPI, which is highest and which is under the concern for the government sector. Now the sectors under recovery were agriculture and allied sectors to 107.7%, mining and quarrying were 104.6%, manufacturing data 104.4%, electricity, gas and utilities were 110.5%, construction 101.2%, trade, hotel, transport 91.5%, again shows a decline. So financial services and real estates were 102. So the gravest concern were trade, hotels, transport and tourism sector. याद रखिए इसे. Public services were 105.6. Demand side, the government consumption was 110.7. The private consumption declined to 97.1. Gross fixed capital formation GFCF was 102.6. Export 111. Import 111.8. So in this we recognize that the travel, tourism, hotel sector were in a constant phase of decline to 91.5%, and the sector of private consumption were again in the decline. So these two sectors were in a huge grudge: trade, hotels and transport, private consumption. Remember these two sectors which were really under decline under this COVID pandemic. Now silver lining is there that India has balance of surplus in last 2 years despite COVID pandemic of 2 years and declining of global world economy. India's balance of payment was rising, and the forex, that is foreign exchange reserve in terms of the currencies, in terms of dollar, were 634 billion US dollar, highest among the previous balance of forex. So हम देख रहे हैं friends 634 बिलियन US डॉलर फॉरेक्स रिजर्व यहाँ पे देखा गया है, फॉरेक्स रिजर्व ऑफ 634 बिलियन डॉलर, and RBI gained this in the last 31st December 2021. दिसंबर एंड होते होते हमारे पास बहुत ही ज़्यादा फॉरेक्स रिजर्व है, एंड इट इज़ इक्विवेलेंट टू 30.2 months of the merchandise, and which makes highest of the country's external debt. The combination of high foreign exchange reserve, sustained foreign direct investment. यानी कि despite the grudge of COVID lockdown pandemic, we are having a constantly foreign direct investment, foreign institutional investment and rise in forex reserve, which makes a good news for the government as well as people of India. So adequate buffer against the possible global liquidity tapering in 2022-2023. Now in coming year, if we are facing certain trap of liquidity, then again we are having adequate surplus liquidity due to advancement of forex reserve present in the country. Now the next thing which is to be noted is that rise of government external debt. सरकार के पास एक्सटर्नल डेट राइज पे था ड्यू टू हेल्थ रिस्पॉन्सेज एंड फिजिकल सपोर्ट गिवन बाय द गवर्नमेंट. सो डेट यानी कि एक्सटर्नल ऋण भारत सरकार के पास बढ़ते हुए देखा गया ड्यू टू द हेल्थ एक्सपेंडिचर and fiscal support given by the government to the MSMEs and various sectors. In Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, we saw that government puts a lot of funds into the small and medium enterprises as well as various industries in order to cater their processes and maintain their substantial and sustained growth, and in order to protect their declination. And in this way to maintain the capex along with the additional support needed, that is capital expenditure was maintained by the government under the procedure of Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. Now the financial system in sync with the global trends. The global trends in the rise of the financial system was constantly under the pressure by the government of India in order to protect the market and in order to protect the banking and risks which are under the structural decline in NPA. So the non-performing assets were declined during the lockdown period. It means that the economy was in certain banking system were recovering. Banking recovery, which is again a good news in terms of Indian economy, where the reduction in non-performing assets as well as various systems of economy which were under constant threat and preserved by the government of India, which recovered during the lockdown period. Now the graph here presented by the government NSO, which provides this graph which shows the e-way bill generation, how the e-way bill generation works for the development of economy, and the volume value that is rising again. So the January 2019 shows a balance growth in crores, 5 crores, around 5 crores was there, and in April the e-way bills again declined, which were a V shape, again recovery to 6 crore level and again recovery to 6.5 crores, then again decline to 4 crores, then again rise to 6 crore level. Then GST collection again seems to be in declination in April 2020 to 0.4 lakhs crores, again in rise to the second wave condition where there was declining, but GST collection was on constant rise, friends. Remember and recall it. So it is around 1.4% of level. So friends, we were discussing about the data of GST collection, which again shows a constant growth despite the pandemic level. Although there were certain decline in first lockdown, again there was a V-shaped recovery, and again we see a small drop in the GST data to 1% or 0.8%, but still it shows growth potential in the December 2021. So it again makes a boost and good news for the government as well as Indian population. Then power consumption, which were again in very much of destruction and decline in first lockdown, but still power consumption rise to the 125 level. Again in the December 2021, it was shown in the position of declining and then recovery. So very small decline and recovery in the power sector. Electronic toll collection and count. So electronic data which we see in the average daily collection and daily count were again in constant rise in the after first lockdown recovery period, and again it was little bit of decline to level of 80 crores. Again it was rise to near 100 lakhs. So it again makes a good news.